Car stocks are facts or opinions, and opinions are facts. Ford is getting rid of their most iconic building ever. This is the Ford Glass House, their original corporate headquarters that's been around since the 1950s. And here before long, it'll be nothing but an open field with nothing left. Why is Ford getting rid of their headquarters? Well, simple. They're upgrading the original glass house building to a more modern facility that's pretty much centrally located to all their other buildings. This corporate building is actually not where most of the development buildings are. It's a little bit away. So they want to put their corporate headquarters where all their development buildings are. Makes sense. Sounds like a pretty good move on Ford's end for, streamlining productivity and just overall how the company works. Except I think there's an alternative motive here on why they're making the switch, and we're going to go into that right now. But more or less, this is what Ford is doing. They're updating to this massive, it's 2 times, I think it's actually over 2 times bigger than the original building. And, it's going to be able to have a lot more employees work within that building instead of having to work in separate outbuildings that Ford has. And what they're doing is they're creating a campus. And that's what they want to do. They want to have all this centrally located and have this campus of development. You got to think, we're going to go to Google Maps here and Google Earth. You have to think the amount of space Ford has in the Michigan area. So, of course, Ford resides in Dearborn, right? And that's where it's all at. And if you scroll in, this whole region right here, I mean, we're talking about many, many, many square miles. It's pretty much its own zip code. It's Ford. They literally built a legacy in this area of Michigan. And if we zoom in, right here is the original glass house building. So that's right here, right? You can easily see. But all of the other buildings for development, like here's their test track and testing facility, and then they have all of these buildings here. All of this here is for development. All of this here is for development. Pretty much all of this. And then you got the original iconic, Ford plant right here, the stamping facility and all of that. They have so much. They have so many outbuildings and so many like small little, buildings dedicated for like one thing or another. And we can go and see that. So if we go to Google Maps, it actually has a lot of this listed. So if we go over here, there's all these little separate buildings. You got the Ford Dynameter Laboratory. This is for powertrain development. Ford Gas Turbine Lab. Ford, what's this one? Ford Product Development Center, Ford Building 1 Research and Advanced Engineering, Ford Building 2 Advanced Research and Engineering, their test track. Come over here, they got all kinds of just outbuildings, and they're all like dedicated to specific, areas of development. And it's crazy when you realize the size of this that Ford has going on. And really, this whole area of Dearborn, you got to think all the rail lines that come through here, all of this, all these logistics and stuff that's all through here. All of this is because of Ford. The economy that they built here is undeniably historic and massive. And they're going to make yet another historical move as they relocate their headquarters. So going back to Google Earth, remember, I showed you that right here is the original. Well, we come over here and we can see this is where this new headquarters is. This is that building we see in the photos. And yeah, look how big it is. Here's these internal courtyards and all kinds of stuff. And see, it keeps it, with all the other stuff, keeps it right here. And Here's all the other development buildings. Yeah, it keeps everyone close together. Makes sense, right? For, efficiency purposes, I understand. But the way they keep saying this is that they're building this campus, right? Campus. That's a key word that I'm trying to make sure you are hearing. And here's a quote from Jim Farley, CEO of Ford. This is more than a new building. It is a catalyst for innovation and a physical symbol of our Ford Plus transformation. So what is Ford Plus transformation? Well, we look at this article here. I know it's a little cut off right there, but it says thousands of new tech team members helping transform Ford with more on the way. And then you come down here to the main article. It says a few years ago, we at Ford decided to disrupt our company in ways not seen in our industry since Henry Ford put the world on wheels 116 years ago to compete for an exciting future. To help do this, we brought in more than 3,000 team members with advanced computing, analytical, and technical skills the past 3 years to help transform our company with our dedicated employees and our thriving traditional business. Today, this transformation is becoming much more visible as we launch the new Mustang Mach-E, advanced connectivity technologies, and new mobility solutions. They hired 3,000 employees that are geared towards tech. We're building this new all-inclusive campus. What's this remind you of? Does this remind you of any other type of companies that are currently existing in the United States? Of course it does. So let's take back to Google Maps and head on over to Cali, because we're going to go to Silicon Valley, baby. So let's come on down to this big old ring. What the heck is this, you're asking? Well, if you know, you know. This big ring right here, this giant campus is Apple. Yes, Apple, the tech company. This is their big campus. If you think Apple's tech campus is big, let me show you Google's. So have you ever seen this? This is called the Googleplex. This is their new state-of-the-art campus. And yeah, see how massive it is? All these tech companies have this. And if you look, all these outbuildings, everything surrounding this, all of this here, all of this here, all of these here. These are all Google buildings. They're all part of their development, research, and all that. This is all Google owned stuff, right? Meta's got a giant facility. They all do. All these tech companies have these huge campuses. And now Ford hired a bunch of these tech people and building a brand new facility so they have a place to work in this development campus. When this article said we at Ford decided to disrupt our company in a way not seen in our industry since Henry Ford put the world on wheels 116 years ago, what they mean is they are basically going to be one of the first American, if we're not counting Tesla, they're really going to be the first American auto manufacturer or even just manufacturer in the world to dive head first into competing not only as a manufacturer for automobiles, but transforming the business model from auto manufacturer to tech company. That's what we're seeing here, everyone. This is the change from Ford as an auto manufacturer to Ford as a tech company happening right before our eyes. And sooner than later, the whole industry will be making the change. It's been a slow, progressive move towards that, and Tesla has actually influenced a lot of this. But we can't actually blame Tesla for what we're seeing today. Tesla kind of helped push or encourage brands like Ford to really make strides. Their whole goal is basically, much like Tesla, to make cars nothing more than a lifestyle gadget. But like I said, let's not blame Tesla for the ways of Ford. We got to go back. We got to go way back, way before Tesla was even a thing. We got to go back and thank another American company for this. Remember LoJack? Back in the day, especially in the 90s, it was huge. You had LoJack on your car. That was a flex. No doubt about it. We can see here this little timeline. This is pretty cool. So the original patents for LoJack came out in 1978, but it didn't really kind of make it into cars mainstream until 1988. So pretty much late 80s into the early 90s, you started seeing a lot more people get this LoJack system. And it was, you know, someone stole your car, they could use GPS to track where it went, you know, and they could recover it, hopefully, assuming it wasn't already, you know, chopped up in a chop shop or whatever, or not crashed or thrown in a ditch. But LoJack kind of kick-started this, you know, installing these tracking devices in people's cars as a, you know, peace of mind, you know, in case there was theft or anything that happened. And then came along another giant US auto manufacturer, and they thought it would be a great idea. Like, oh my God, people are willing to pay all this money for LoJack. Why don't we just develop our own and put it in our own vehicles? And here comes the story of General Motors and the lovely OnStar, because they were the first auto manufacturer to install this from the factory, have this as an option for you to pay for as a subscription that tracks your data and collects your data. At first, it wasn't that bad. Not like it is now, which we'll get to later in the video, but they were the first to kind of pioneer this technology. So basically in 1990, let's see, where was it? 1995, Beacon for Safety, Project Beacon was launched with cutting edge intention of marrying wireless communications with automobiles. Satellite and cellular technology was beamed right into your vehicle. This evolved into today's OnStar. We remember cars of the late 80s and 90s that had like the built-in cell phones. You could pay for data plans on your car. Also another huge flex at the time. You had that and LoJack, that means you had money. So they took these technologies that were being used and applied it to create OnStar. So in 1996, OnStar debuts as the industry's first embedded telematics system and comprehensive automatic crash notification and security system. When airbags deploy, the built-in OnStar module immediately connects to an advisor who relays the information to first responders, helping them work more efficiently when they arrive on scene. It developed, and then here in 2005, with the advent of vehicle diagnostics, aka OBD2 and more advanced CAN bus systems, OnStar can run hundreds of diagnostic and maintenance checks on your vehicle's key operating systems and send summaries to your inbox every month. The diagnostic reports keep members informed and gives them peace of mind that everything's okay. But not only did it keep the owner of the vehicle informed, it kept GM informed of what was going on with that car. And it just kept evolving and evolving until now we have almost every manufacturer has their own version of OnStar. They have their own version of, you know, connecting your phone and an app to the vehicle, and the vehicle is connected wirelessly to the cloud. You can get over-the-air updates. It can track your telematics. It can collect data. And that is what these auto manufacturers are slowly morphing into. And this is why they want to become tech companies, because they want to collect data. They want to basically make cars iPhones, where it's nothing more than a lifestyle gadget that's supposed to make life easier, that you're going to want to upgrade every 2 years. Eventually, that's where this is going. Ford's version of OnStar is called Ford Pass. I had it in my own vehicle, and I thought at first, hey, this is pretty cool. When I bought my 2020 Mustang, brand new, you know, they actually were pretty adamant about setting Ford Pass up before I left the dealership, because I'm pretty tech savvy. I don't, you know, need help pairing my phone to my car. I know how to do that. The sales guy was like, you know, like, yeah, let me help you out. Like, no, I got it. Seriously, I'll go home. And they're like, well, we kind of can't let you go, and we got to kind of take care of it here. I'm thinking to myself, why? Why won't you let me leave with my brand new car that I just purchased without setting up this phone app and connecting it to the car, because it has to be synced to the VIN number of the car? Well, They are told to. The Ford makes them, or they want them to, at least, for all I know. And that's so Ford can start from day one when someone buys a car collecting data. And they're collecting data on so many different things. They're collecting data on how you drive, where you drive, the speed you drive at. In the app, you can schedule for service and all kinds of stuff. All of that is logging it. If you have any diagnostic codes come up, it tells you in the app. Well, guess what? That's also stored on Ford servers. So Ford keeps a record of everything you see, they see, and more. So they see a whole lot what's going on with that car. If you've driven fast, if you accelerate fast, you brake hard. And I thought, man, this is cool. Like, yeah, it was convenient to have the app tell me, and I could remotely lock and unlock my car from the app, which I never thought I would use, but a few times I did actually use it. If you, for whatever reason, forgot where you parked, instead of like hitting the panic button on the car and annoying everyone who might be around the car at the time, so you can listen to it and find where it is, you could use your phone and it would show you, it put a pin on a map and show you where your car is, and it would navigate you to your car. It's pretty cool. I used that a couple times myself. I'm like, man, this is actually pretty cool technology, until I realized what they were really doing with the technology. Now, I did have a problem with that car where I had catastrophic engine failure. I was stupid to take that car into the dealer with modifications on it. However, I think I would have been boned either way, because they saw everything that happened. They could see it through the app data, all the DCTs that came up when the failure happened, and everything that happened before that. Because I would tinker around with it, if I accidentally unplugged something, it would throw a code, whatever, plug it back in, go ahead, reset the code, car was fine. But like I said, that's all logged. And then I go in for warranty work. They see the engine's completely crapped itself. They see not only is there aftermarket parts on it, but they go and look at the history log of all of that. And they're like, oh, there's a DC code for this and that and that and that and that and that. And he's driven this fast and that fast. He's accelerated this hard. He took turns at that. Man, he's abused this thing. Warranty denied. Like I said, I think even if I put all the factory parts back on it, I would have been boned. That is true for anyone in any modern car. Check this out. So here's an interesting article here that I stumbled across, and it says, in today's automotive world, your car isn't just a machine. No, it ain't. It's a data generating device on wheels. With the rise of connected car technology, everything from how you drive to how often you hit the brakes is being logged, analyzed, and sometimes used against you. Yes, that's right. Vehicle data logging, often referred to as the connected car's black box, is changing the game when it comes to car warranty claims. These silent witnesses under the hood, reshaping how manufacturers and third-party providers assess what's covered and what's not. They can see vehicle speed and throttle position, brake usage and airbag deployment, steering angle and lane departure warnings, GPS locations and routes, diagnostic trouble codes, system malfunctions, and warning lights. They can collect data on engine health and performance metrics, oil and fluid levels, battery voltage, driving behavior, aka speeding, harsh braking, and acceleration, vehicle location and mileage, service history logs, aftermarket mod detections. Holy crap! How can a car detect aftermarket mods? Well, everything is programmed to work in, a certain amount. Let's say you put an intake on a car, right? Not all intakes require a car to be retuned, but it may change airflow characteristics into that engine. The car may gain power. It may, completely be fine with that intake on the car. But because the intake is doing what an aftermarket intake is supposed to do, and it's allowing the car to breathe better, the car knows that, it sees that, it's tracking that, and the values of how much air going into the car is being logged, which is higher than what they know it should be. Therefore, they're going to make the assumption there was an aftermarket mod on that car. So, hey, look, you take all the parts off the car, all the aftermarket parts, something happened, you put it back on the car, and then they go in there, hey, yeah, we got reports. It looks like there was a lot more airflow coming into the car at one point, or if it was running higher than normal levels of boost. These are not factory conditions. Something was on the car to manipulate it. These are not factory values. You had tampered with the car malfunctioned. We're not covering anything. So even though there are warranty laws to protect you and I from this, trust me, they're worth a crap. They're not going to help you. You might be able to get around certain things if you complain enough and you make a big enough a deal about it and you have enough time to do it, and maybe you have time to hire a lawyer, but most of us don't have time. We need a car to get around. Most of us don't have money to hire a lawyer. So every auto manufacturer is calling your bluff and they're getting away with it. So they're collecting your data for many different reasons. And you got to think, the auto manufacturer themselves, they don't really make a whole lot of money on the vehicle. In fact, oftentimes the dealership selling the vehicle probably makes more profit than the manufacturer does, honestly. Trucks and stuff, they make a lot more money because their manufacturing costs are practically the same, but the cost of the vehicle is astronomically higher. So they can make a lot more money on those vehicles. That's why they love selling trucks. Cars and such, no. That's why Ford got rid of cars. Not to say that they were terrible and not to say people weren't buying them, because people still buy cars. That's why Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Nissan have been selling cars like crazy, because not everyone wants a truck or SUV, but Ford knows there isn't much of a profit to be had in those vehicles, so they axed them. How is Ford going to make up all this lost profit because they can't sell profitable vehicles? They're collecting your data. That's what they want. These manufacturers want to collect data to make up for that. Ford Pass, thankfully, on Ford's end, as far as I know, unless they've changed it, was completely free. You buy a Ford vehicle, you get lifetime access to Ford Pass because they're just going to sell your data anyway and make money off you. Why would they have you pay for it? OnStar has always been a paid subscription service from day one. But in modern times, basically, if you buy a new GM vehicle, you get a certain amount of time, 3 or 5 years or something, of OnStar complimentary. Then once that 3 or 5 years is up, you pay for it. And hey, that's a great incentive, right? A salesman calls you up. Hey, I see Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, you had your vehicle about 3 years now. Your OnStar is going to be running out soon. And then after that, you're going to be coming out of pocket for it. But we got some brand new models with great deals. We would love to see if we can get you in something new. And that way we get another 3 or 5 years of complimentary OnStar. You wouldn't have to pay for. We could keep your payments the same. And yeah, look, right there, they got you. It's pretty crazy. And if you decide you don't want to buy something new, they're going to get you with that OnStar. And they're going to get you, with the data they're selling. And then there's all these other stupid things manufacturers are doing, like making you pay for features that are already in your vehicle. They're locking features out unless you pay for them. Even if you don't connect these apps to your vehicle and connect the VIN, they'll even deactivate some features. My current car, my Hyundai Elantra, there are features that I really don't even care about so much because I don't have it connected. They have app 2 and everything, but I never connected it to the phone. So the VIN's never registered to the app. As far as Hyundai knows, they probably still collect data on the car some way or another, I'm sure, but it's not like it was when I had the Mustang, where the VIN was connected to the app, which was connected to all of my information, including address and everything. But I don't have it connected on that car. And there are some features in the infotainment system I don't have access to because I don't have that connected. It's so stupid. And some cars are like that. Then like BMW wants to charge you a monthly subscriptions for heated seats. And eventually this is going to be a thing. Like I said, your vehicle is going to be like a phone. It's going to be like a smartphone or any type of device where you're being shown ads. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a whole thing about Ford wants to show ads on the displays. How they're putting these big screens in all your cars now. They want to show ads in your car while you're driving. I think that was Ford or GM. One of the two are going to do it. You're going to be rolling around, constantly being showed ads about products in your vehicle as they collect your data, as you're paying a monthly subscription for things that come in the vehicle that you didn't have access to unless you paid for, while you're paying your car payment, while you're paying the insurance, By the way, your insurance company is raising your rates because they see how you're driving, because the data that the vehicle is collecting by the auto manufacturers being sold to third-party companies that are then selling it to insurance companies. So they're like, oh, hey, this guy's driving erratically, or he's driving way above the speed limit. We're raising his rates. He's a high liability. All the while, you're like, oh man, my new iCar is already 2 years out of date. They got iCar 13 coming out next week. What am I going to do? They're going to have a brand new feature that's slightly better than a feature that's already pre-existing. I can't live without it. I got to go get it. And that's what they want. Ford is leading the way and turning the automotive industry into a tech industry and bridging the gap between a car, automobile, and a tech device. They are going to be the ones that really merge it all together, pretty much pioneer this new way that we are going to see, own, and operate cars. So, it's going to be a wild ride unless some heavy regulations kick in. But I don't see that happening either, because one last thing before we wrap it up here, the automotive industry might be on the bottom end of lobbyists here. Let's see, they spend about $56 million a year in lobbying. But since they're turning into tech companies and they have their hands and feet and all kinds of other things, well, what do other things automotive industry does? Well, they're in chemical and related manufacturing. Well, they, lobby 41 million. Automotive also has something to do with manufacturing and distribution. So there's another 65 million there. Oil and gas, 71 million. We come up here, it's funny that insurance is in the upper echelon of top lobbying industries, spending over 90 million a year, but under electronics and manufacturing equipment, $141 million a year spent lobbying. So what does that tell you? They're basically going to come down here and they're going to take everything they have and put it up here. They're going to have the power to lobby even harder. Cars are going to get a whole lot worse. Thank you, Ford, for leading the way. Thank you for pioneering this new way forward with this new big campus and facility, and, marking the future of automotive excellence and allowing these great young people to enter the tech industry and cars and, really push the way forward so we can all be paying out of our nose for every little inch we travel in our new smart gadgety cars. Pretty sure we made movies in the 80s about this, but crazy how self-fulfilling prophecies happen. Anyways, let me know what you think. That's going to wrap it up here for this video. Put your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share with everyone you know. If you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for next Cars Talks video.